Hey there, lovely people. Welcome back to my channel. This week I am doing something a little bit different, and instead of doing a writing tip Tuesday, I'm going to do something more like a life tip Tuesday. A little while ago, I did a video on the pros and cons of going to college, and I've been having some conversations lately that are about college and about college experiences with my peers who have been out of college for a couple of years now and have gone into the workforce. And what college prepared us for is not necessarily what we were hoping. So I wanted to address some of those concerns and present a new perspective on college from somebody who has been out for almost 2.5 years now. I do just want to say that my experience and my friends' experiences are not necessarily universal. A majority of my friends went to the same college. It's not hard if you want to find out what college that was. It's really easy to figure that out, but I don't want to specifically bash on that school, so I'm not going to address it in this particular video. I do think that there are some things that are kind of universal in the way that colleges are run in today's society because they can do these things, and I just want to point out the ones that I have experience with, and hopefully that will open other people who are either in college or going into college to open your eyes to things that maybe aren't the best about college and how the college system works. I genuinely hope that people are going to come into the comments and tell me that their college experience is totally different than what I am discussing. I'm really hoping that there is going to be a positive outlook on this, but I want to shine a light on it in case anyone out there who is watching this video has no experience to know what to look for in these situations. Disclaimers aside, let's jump into why I don't think college is worth it these days. To start off, college asks a lot from students. Students are required to do a lot of things. They're required to pay a lot of money. They're required to dedicate all of their time to college and their education and all of these things, but college doesn't follow up on its promises to those students. Why does everyone in my generation and the generation before it, and probably the generation after it, go to college? To get a job. It's to get a job. We go to college to get a job because that's what they told us. You have to go to college to get an education so that you will be qualified to get a job. That's what our society has told us. That's why everybody goes to college. That's why every entry-level job now requires a bachelor's degree. It's now the equivalent of a high school diploma for a majority of jobs. With the college debt argument that's been going on lately, with some people getting some of their college debt forgiven, people are saying, why'd you go to college and take out a loan if you couldn't pay it back? We all thought that we were going to be making the kind of money to pay back the loans that they take out. Every student that took out a loan thought that they were going to get a job after going to college that would then help them pay off that loan. Everyone. That's what we were told to expect. So because the system is no longer working in our favor for us to get a job that will pay us a living wage, that will allow us to pay off those loans, that's where we're at. Every person I know who went to college went in thinking that they would get a job, thinking that they would end up working in the field of their study. Between myself and my peers that I have discussed on this, none of us came out of college feeling prepared to go into our field of study. None of us came out with any confidence to know how to find a job in our field of study. None of us came with the confidence to know how to pitch ourselves to the people in our field of study. I'll be generous and say, yes, I graduated during the pandemic. I have some people who graduated the year before the pandemic, some people who graduated after the pandemic started. None of us have the place, the confidence, the knowledge, the authority, the practice to go out and get a job in our field of study. A majority of us work in something that has nothing to do with our degree. We do that because it's easier to go into a new field that you have no background in and pitch yourself as somebody who is willing and able to learn how to do something, rather than to go and say, hey, I've got a degree in XYZ. I would like a job doing X because I'm good at X. And then if they ask you questions and you don't know the answers because you weren't prepared to go out into the workforce, it's significantly more embarrassing to go out and try and get a job in your field of study when what you were taught was not necessarily applicable to the current way everything is going on. But being in that position where you're like, I studied this for 4 years, and not being able to confidently respond to a question about your skill set. Oh, that's not great. Not great at all. Which led to it being easier for us to start a brand new full career from scratch rather than rely on our supposed credentials that we got in college. Every single person that I've talked to about this is not working in what they studied. And that's coming from people both in what I studied, the general liberal arts, that's coming from people in business, that's coming from people in sciences, that's coming from various people who studied multiple different things. None of us felt prepared for the career field. None of us felt like we have the credentials to go out, or we feel like we have more credentials than is applicable to certain positions that are calling for a bachelor's degree in XYZ to do X. You need to have that, but they're gonna pay you $10 an hour. College doesn't do what it claims to do. It doesn't have any intention of preparing you to enter the real world. It takes your interests, what you want to major in, what you want your career to be in, and it teaches you the fundamentals, it teaches you the background, it teaches you the bare minimum of like how it works. It challenges you to think in new ways, but it doesn't have any intention of preparing you. It doesn't teach you how to apply those things in the real world. It doesn't teach you how to look for the ways to apply those things in the real world, and it doesn't stay up to date. Leads right into my next point. College values tenured professors more than it values the students coming in and paying those tenured professors salaries. Even if a whole class of students, even if 50 people all in the same class with this one tenured professor, 50 people come up to the dean or the head of the department and they say, this teacher is not teaching us. We're not learning anything applicable. We're not learning anything that is going to help us in the future. They'll say, well, he's tenured. He's tenured and he's teaching you things of value, because this one tenured professor is more valuable than 50 students having a hard time understanding why they are paying to learn nothing. And that's something you see especially happening in the arts, because they're subjective. A group of students that are 2 decades younger than the professor, 3 decades, 4 decades younger than the professor are saying we're not learning anything useful. The professor has already established themselves as somebody who has a stake in the way that the arts progress. They have something that will direct them into being important, and what they want to teach then becomes important because they have a stake or whatever it is. I honestly can't even count the number of professors that I had that didn't actually care about teaching so much as they cared about perpetuating their own perspectives on the future generations. Even when the future generations had no interest in learning their perspective or respecting their perspective. I had an acting professor who told students she didn't like their acting method or whatever. Instead of teaching them how to become stronger, better actors, teaching them more of the craft of acting, she gave up on them and told them, acting's not for you. Don't do acting anymore. You're not gonna be an actor. You're not good at it. And she would dote on the students that came in with what she thought was natural talent. She had like an exactly 50% score on Rate My Professor, like 2.5 stars, exactly 50-50. You either loved her or you hated her. There was barely any in between because she was so full of herself and her own perspectives that she couldn't teach anymore. She chose not to teach anymore. She chose to dote on and support the people that she thought were capable rather than taking the time to actually support the people who needed it from her perspective. I also had a film professor who exclusively showed us his own works, and any examples given outside of what his works were seen as less and not accurate to the discussion, and he made up so many things that were inconsistent. Like if I wrote down something verbatim that he said in a different lecture on a quiz, he would say, no, this isn't correct. Why? Because you're not feeling it this Tuesday? Great. Awesome, love that. He changed his mind. He didn't seem to have an actual lesson plan or like directive. It was just, hey, look at this video. Look at this film I made. That was like 20 years ago. Look at it. It's great, right? It's really good. You have critiques. You're wrong. You're wrong. Tenured professors are paid more to waste students' time, money, and in some cases resolve to continue. And That's not good. In fact, I would say that being a professor for a longer span of time would make you less qualified in a lot of fields to teach people going into those fields, because you are so far away from what the actual real world is doing because you've been a professor for the last 10 years. How do we know that you, a tenured professor of marketing, understands what social media is doing today? How do we know that you, as a tenured professor in film production, know what it's like to be in a film production union today? We don't. You don't know. Sure, I've got friends who work there. That's not the same as getting somebody who has worked last year, somebody who works part-time as a professor at the school because they want to teach people to come into their field of work and know what they're doing. They want to teach people to be successful. So they come in part-time, teach a couple of classes, make some extra money on the side through going and teaching college classes, and then they also do the work that they are teaching. Or they do the work that they are teaching last year, take a leave of absence from their job and come and teach for 2-3 years, go back to their job, work 2-3 years, then come back and teach. Even somebody who has worked in their field and decides to come and teach 1 year, they may not know confidently how to teach yet. They may not know what is the best way to get their information across. They may not know how to make lesson plans and stick to them, but they will know what's important to know in the real world. And that has way more value than somebody who's been teaching for 10 years. The longer you teach, the less you should make. And with tenured professors currently making more money than new professors, you're not incentivizing people who know what's going on in the world to join a college, to teach the new students, the new potential people in the workforce to come in to teach. Because if you're gonna pay 30 grand for a new salaries professor when you have a professor who's been working there for 10 years that makes 150K, you're not gonna get anybody who knows anything to come in and actually teach, because you're not providing the value in their pay for them to provide the value to the students. Yet at the same time, you're charging your students hundreds of thousands of dollars so you can pay those tenured salaries so they can learn nothing. Every single major should have a required course that is absolutely 100% needed to graduate that will teach them how to make money in that field. Every single degree. And there should be resources available for every single degree on how to get them jobs. Every single degree should have the same resources. My college had a course that I think was called Entrepreneurship for the Arts, which was a very, very vague title and a very, very small class with very limited availability. Entrepreneurship of the Arts went for theater kids, studio art kids, digital art, dance, cinema, any art, anything under the liberal arts part of liberal arts and sciences was supposed to go to that class if they wanted to learn something about entrepreneurship. That's not smart, because you end up de-incentivizing people from taking that course because it's not specified for that particular person's interests. What is going to work for entrepreneurship for a cinema major is going to be something very different than what's going to work for a dance major. Those are very different crafts, and giving entrepreneurship for the arts as a limited availability course makes it so difficult for people to think, yeah, I want to take that class because I'm gonna get into it and I'm gonna learn something from it. You're not. And I will say that the liberal arts school at my college was huge. There were a lot of people there. It was probably, if not their biggest college, their second biggest college. It was huge. And that is a group of people that are not being taken care of effectively. And that's not cool. Super, super not cool. Not to mention that, but the career center at my school was also only geared towards business students or towards medical students. People who they thought were marketable in the way of like, yeah, we can get you a job because there are jobs out there for you in this. It's not a career center. It's a, how do you get a job as a business or med student? That's it. That's the only help it was. And maybe if you needed resume help to get a part-time job, maybe that too. For help actually figuring out like, hey, I want to get an agent so I can get screenplays out there. Can you help me with that? Which is a career move. That's a step towards a career. No, we don't know how to do that. You should talk to your professor. And then we jump back to the tenured professors who haven't done this in over a decade. We have to go talk to them about how to get a career. I don't know if you know how much has changed in the last decade, but a lot has changed in the last decade. And that's just the start of when you're a tenured professor. So there are professors who haven't been in the workforce for 15, 20, 25 years because they've been teachers for that long. And those are the people we're supposed to go to for resources on bettering our career rather than the career center. Got it. Great. If I could design a college degree for what I went to school for, every single year, freshman through senior year, first through fourth year, you would be required to take at least one class on bettering your career, on understanding what your paths are that you could take. Maybe freshman year, it's like, hey, here are the different jobs that exist currently. If we're doing my cinematic arts degree, that class would be like, hey, you can go in the production line of focus, you can go in the theory line of focus. Here are the jobs that currently exist in theory. You can get published in these kinds of things. You can be a movie critic. You can do this, you can do that. You want to go production, you can do directing, you can do videography, you can do sound, you can do lighting, you can do all of these things, and you just learn about the different jobs that there are. Then the next year you pick a more direct focus. I want to go more so in the production line of things. I want to go in the production line rather than the theory line. So you take a production career course. Something like that, where every single year you learn more about how to work in your field of study. Because if I knew how to get a job in my field of study, I probably would have had one by now. I probably would have. In fact, a lot of people might have, or they might have changed their major to something that they felt they could get a job in. If that's why you're going to college, is because I'm gonna get a job because I went to college, because that's why you go to college, is to be able to get a job. It's connecting right back to the fact that we have to make so many sacrifices to college that college doesn't then offer their side of the promise. There's also the fact that college has become like high school. Right? It's so similar to what a high school diploma used to mean that it's becoming useless in a lot of ways. Being college educated doesn't mean the same thing that it used to mean. You aren't necessarily intelligent or well-rounded or able to look at things from a smart perspective just because you went to college. Colleges aren't treating students like they're smart anymore. They're treating students like they are a way of making money. It's not good for the general scheme of things. Almost every single college requires gen eds. You have to do something in science, something in arts, something in history, something in math. You have to do something in all of these general education fields, and you have to take at least one class for each of those for the credit. You have the potential to become well-rounded and learn different ways of thinking and learn new perspectives on things, but instead of offering to give you classes that are gonna give you a challenge and teach you something new, they make it seem like gen eds are just you have to do them, it's not that big of a deal, but you have to take something. And they want you to put all of your mental energy into your major directed classes. So they push the easier gen eds on you. They push things that don't put you out of your comfort zone. They push things that don't actually challenge you to think any harder than you had been. I fell victim to this, given the fact that I did not really want to do college while I was there. Took the easy way out in every way possible. So instead of taking a math class, algebra or calculus, something with numbers, I took a class on language of arguments. That was basically, the whole semester was just saying if-then statements. If this person has an orange ball and this person has a green ball and they throw them at each other, then that's not math. That's not math. That's logic, sure, but it's not math. And I probably should have done a math course, but I didn't because I didn't have to. My science credit was a dinosaur class because it was fun. They told people, oh, well, if you're not great at science, you should take this dinosaur class. And I took it because I took all of my gen eds at the end of my college career instead of the beginning, like a dummy. So I took it because it was gonna be low efforts while I had a lot of really high effort major classes going on at the same time. But gen eds are supposed to be the thing that creates you as a well-rounded person. If you see like people are arguing that college educated people aren't making logical choices, like aren't they supposed to be smart? No, not anymore. We're not smart anymore. We are being encouraged to put in the same amount of effort that you would tell like a C+ student in high school. Like, hey, just try enough to get done. You just need to get that piece of paper at the end and then you're good. That's what we're being taught. We're not actually being given challenges. We're not being given reasons to learn things. We're being given reasons to take the easy way out. Actively telling you, take the easy way out. Don't think too hard. Don't learn anything outside of what you already are referencing. That's not great for the betterment of our society through having everybody be college educated or whatever their goal is. College educated people are disregarding actual scientific discoveries because their colleges taught them to just stick with what they felt comfortable with and the things that align with what they already believe, because that's the easier way to handle things, not to take into account how things work or what things look like or all of that kind of stuff. They aren't taught that anymore. They're taught just get the paper, just get to the end and get the paper. It's gonna be really hard, but just for your major classes, it'll be fine because those are worth it. They'll help you get a job. It is truly very upsetting, the society that we currently live in. It's awful that we've developed to this place where you can't become successful or get like a job that can pay your bills effectively outside of the trades without a college degree. And honestly, lately I'm starting to think that trade work and like going to trade school, learning a trade is actually the better option these days over college. But college is kind of a requirement. It's something that you have to put on every application. Yeah, I have a degree. And it gets you into doors that you might not have gotten in with just a diploma or a GED or even an associate's degree. It's unfortunate that that's what we have, but it's where we are. So if I had to go to college all over again, I would do a lot of things differently. So if you are going into college or you are currently in college, I'm hoping that what I have to say may help you make better decisions than what I chose to do. And it's going to be harder than what they want you to do, but you may end up in a better spot. This is the advice that I would give myself if I were talking to myself in 2016 about to go into college. If you don't know what you want to do or you don't feel confident in what you want to do, just get a bachelor's degree in general studies. General studies is going to give you the most well-rounded perspective, give you the most opportunities to do pretty much anything that you want to do, anything you want to learn, and take the time to become a well-rounded person based on your own choices and not be forced into a career path that you don't necessarily know is what you want to do. A bachelor's degree is a bachelor's degree is a bachelor's degree. So if you are gonna get a job that's like, hey, we need you to have a bachelor's degree, you say, yeah, I have a bachelor's degree. I got a bachelor's degree. Having a bachelor's degree in general studies, yeah, it's not super specific, but I have a bachelor's degree in cinematic arts and I am not working anywhere that having a bachelor's degree in cinematic arts would have any value. So general studies may actually have more value than being super niched into something that doesn't relate to where you end up. It's kind of like having a high school diploma and you have the opportunity to take classes that will actually make you think rather than going to all of the required classes that are designed to be run by whatever tenured professor is in that particular department. You have the opportunity to step out of your comfort zone. You have the opportunity to learn things that interest you, and you have the opportunity to make your own choices with a general studies major. Try to avoid overloading yourself. I was the kind of student that took 20 semester hours worth of classes because that was like the maximum amount you could take without approval from a guidance counselor or whatever they were called. And I would take all of those courses. And then I would also work a part-time job for like 15, 20, 25 hours. And that's a lot. And it leads to not being able to dedicate the right amount of time to actually learning. And therefore, we got a whole lot of nothing out of a lot of my classes because I just didn't care to take the time to actually put in the effort into learning. And the classes did not require me to put in the time to take the effort into learning. That was a choice that I made because I was lazy. And if I had to go back, I would actively try to learn because there's literally no point in going to college and not learning anything. And that's a big part of why I think that I don't think it's worth it, because there's a whole lot of not learning things from my experience and from the courses that I had to take. In tandem, if you don't know what you want to do and you take a general studies bachelor's degree and then you don't overwork yourself, you actually have the time to like learn. How crazy is that? And have social experiences too. Like you could join clubs. It's crazy. Don't overwork yourself. Don't overschedule yourself. Just give yourself the time to actually learn something. Because they're totally fine with you not learning something. You have to make that active choice that you are wanting to learn something. Take some time before signing up for classes to actually look into your professors. A lot of colleges these days have Rate My Professor as a service that they offer where you can look up the professor's name and see what students are saying about them. If they are a tenured professor and they don't have like 4 stars minimum, or like a 75% would take again, don't take their class because they're not going to teach you anything. They're not going to teach you anything of value, and that's a problem. Unless it's like a history professor, because like history doesn't really change all that much. But like if you're taking a course in a major that you're hoping to get into a workforce from, that's a changing workforce, that times have changed it, don't take their course if they don't have like minimum 4 stars, 75%. If you have the opportunity, try to shoot for newer, younger professors, people who are more recently out of the workforce into the teaching realm, because you are going to get more out of them. And that includes courses taught by grad students. That includes courses taught by like first-year professors. That includes courses taught that are smaller, newer courses that haven't been taught as many times in the past. The more recent that your professor has done the thing that they are teaching you, the better in 99% of cases. And if it's possible, look into the newer professors. Like if they went to undergrad, then they got their master's, and then they came and they started teaching, that's not going to be the same value as somebody who went to undergrad, got their master's degree, went out and did it for a little bit and has something to show for the fact that they did something out in the world. Being in academia for a long time is the problem that I have. So even if they are new to teaching in this world, it's probably a little bit better to give them some time to actually work before you sign up for their classes if you have the opportunity to make that choice. No one cares where you got your degree, and no job cares where you got your degree unless you're like a lawyer or something, in which case you'll have to get a degree and you'll have to learn a lot. So like this video doesn't apply to you. If you get a degree from a small school somewhere that was really affordable for you and a good financial decision for you, then that's the right choice. Nobody cares if you have a degree and you say, I have a degree, I have a bachelor's degree in this, I have a bachelor's degree in general studies, I have a bachelor's degree in the cinematic arts. You have a bachelor's degree. That's what they care about. We're in this world where having a bachelor's degree on your resume is more important than any past qualifications that you have, and that's terrible. It's the worst. And I haven't seen anyone care about where that bachelor's degree is from. Haven't heard anything about it. Like, oh, we only hire people from this place. The only thing is that it might get you more connections in the future. Like, oh, you can connect with these people on LinkedIn because they went to your school, and then you can get their connections and whatever. But it's not like that big of a deal. You can make connections in another way that isn't extremely financially debilitating. Make the right choice financially, make the right choice location based, make the right choice for who you are and what your needs are, because needing to go to like the best school you can in this area or that area, or needing to go to a Ivy League school, whatever your values are is based on your values. It's not societal values for most jobs. If you do actually want to get a job in your field of study, you need to take the time to actually put in the effort to find the resources on how to get those jobs, because your school doesn't care about you. Your school doesn't care about your future. Your school doesn't care if you succeed or fail. They only care if you succeed if you're going to come back and donate money. They don't care what you do. They don't care about you at all. They don't. They don't care about you. The only person who is going to make a difference to your future is you. If there aren't any resources available for your career, speak up, tell somebody, make a riot, tell your department head, tell their boss, tell the dean of students, tell the president of the school, tell people, keep telling people until there are resources available for you. You're gonna be your only advocate. You're the only one who cares about where your future is going, and you need to care. You need to put in the effort. You have to do that. No one is going to do it for you. Well, that's all I have for today. It's a little bit different from normal. I know that. It's a lot more negative than I normally like to be, but it's very honest and it's very true to many people's possible life experiences. And I don't want more people to like come out of college and be bitter about where they're at. I love my job currently. I'm happy with it. I am not in my field of study. I have friends who are not in their field of study and they are happy with their jobs. But there's also a world where we could have been in our field of study and happy, maybe making more money than we're making right now, but we've also only been out of school for a very short period of time. So there's still potential. As it stands right now, college is college. And if you're not gonna defend yourself in college to protect your future and take care of yourself in that way, it's not gonna work out. And that's just sort of how it is. College doesn't care about you, and that's the world we live in. Maybe consider a trade. I hear electricians are getting paid really, really well these days, but that's it. That's all. I'm done. I promise. I will see you guys on Saturday for a story study Saturday, and then back again on Tuesday. I'll be back into the normal writing tip Tuesdays. So make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll see you guys on Saturday.